Level 1. Scrub. Brian Scalabrine is the poster boy for players who somehow become more famous for not playing than actually playing. These guys barely hang on to the league, living off 10-day contracts and short stints that feel more like auditions than careers. They flash in summer league, get a few headlines, and then vanish once the regular season begins. When they check into games, it's either a blowout or an accident. Coaches don't call plays for them, they call timeouts to get them off the floor. Jared Jeff is another one who managed to be around without anyone knowing why. Scrubs like him spend more time on the bench than the actual bench does. They sit in full uniform game after game just waiting for that perfect scenario. A 30-point lead with 40 seconds left. When their number is called, it's never with excitement, just to avoid injuries to players that actually matter. Anthony Bennett had expectations the size of a mountain and still couldn't find a foothold. That's the Scrub story. Drafted high, drop fast. These players don't bring any one elite skill to the table. They're not lights-out shooters, not lockdown defenders, not even great glue guys. They're just there filling roster space, floating through practice, never really part of the plan. Sebastian Teller came in with so much hype, but he ended up stuck in scrub territory like so many others. These guys usually bounce between the NBA and the G League, and when that doesn't work out, they pack up for an overseas tour. Mid-career detours to random international leagues are common, anywhere that'll give them minutes. Even if the scoreboard's in another language. Yan Lee had all the physical tools and still couldn't stick. That's the thing with scrubs. Sometimes they look the part, but when the game starts, nothing happens. Coaches keep them around for practice, not production. They're useful bodies in scrimmages and scout team drills. The team's up 25 or down 30, that's when they check in. If fans remember them at all, it's for their college days or the Where Are They Now trivia segments. Jimmer Fredette had a legendary college run, but in the league, he couldn't get past the end of the bench. Scrubs get their moment in the preseason, maybe even one decent game that fans hold on to for dear life. But once the regular season starts, they're glued to the sideline. Their stat lines usually look like they never touched the ball, and in many cases, they didn't. Hashem Tabi had size, and teams still didn't know what to do with him. That's when you know someone's in scrub territory. These players don't get trusted with real minutes. They might dress, they might warm up, but when the game's on the line, they're behind the water bottles. Their careers usually last under 3 years, and that's if they're lucky. Adam Morrison looked like he'd be something special after college, but ended up fading out fast. Scrubs like him don't retire with celebrations. They quietly disappear. No press tour, no jersey retirement, not even a farewell tour. They just stop getting calls, stop getting deals, and end up as footnotes. If fans remember them at all, it's because they Googled draft buzz one night out of boredom. Darko is still one of the most famous examples of a player who went high in the draft and still landed in this category. Scrubs often carry that extra pressure. Not only did they underperform, but they did it in front of everyone. The league moves on quickly. Teams waive them without hesitation. Fans forget them even faster. Coaches only remember them as that guy we had for a few weeks. Wami Brown caught heat for years, but the truth is his career just never found its stride. That's the scrub blueprint. Nothing sticks. They're locker room fillers, practice squad energy, and the 11th man in a rotation that only plays 8. They're not trusted in crunch time, not celebrated in victory, and definitely not remembered in retirement. That's what defines this level. Scrubs are here and gone in a flash. Their jerseys never sell, their names never trend, and their highlight reels are just recycled practice footage. They're the definition of temporary, barely in, easily out, and almost always forgotten. But let's move on. Level 2. Bench player. These guys aren't carrying a franchise, but they're not getting tossed out of the league either. They hang around because they're dependable, even if nobody's ever running to buy their jersey. You'll spot them getting 10 to 15 minutes a night, doing just enough to hold down the second unit, without turning the ball over every other possession. Think about someone like Corey Joseph. He's not flashy, but you always know what you're getting. He won't close games, and nobody's banking on him to hit a game winner. But when the starters need a break, he's the guy coaches trust not to throw everything off the rails. That reliability, that's why teams keep calling. They bring hustle, they bring energy, and most importantly, they bring silence. When it comes to complaining, these players don't go whining to the media about playing time. They know their role, and they lean into it. Garrett Temple built his entire career on that attitude. He's been the veteran presence on more rosters than most people can count, and that's not by accident. Every once in a while, someone like Jody Meeks will come in and catch fire, suddenly dropping 20 points out of nowhere, and then going quiet for the next week. That's the thing with these guys. They're streaky. When they're hot, they look like starters. When they're cold, it's easy to forget they're even on the team. But that randomness, it still adds value. You'll also hear them called locker room guys. They're glue players, the ones who keep things steady behind the scenes. Kendrick Perkins was a master at that. He wasn't lighting it up on the floor in his later years, but everyone respected what he brought to the team dynamic. Coaches value that more than fans realize. Players like Nick Collison spent nearly 2 decades doing this exact thing. He was never the best player on the court, but he always knew where to be, what to do, and how to keep the flow going. And if someone got hurt, he stepped up, kept it moving, and made sure nothing fell apart. That's what makes these bench guys vital. They're not the stars, but they keep the stars from collapsing. And it's not like they're just sitting there. They're still grinding. Luke Ridino was another perfect example. Bounced around the league, showed up ready every night, ran the offense for a few minutes, then sat back down. He never made wave, never tried to play outside himself, and that kept him in the league for years. Reggie Bullock is the type of player who gets brought in for specific matchups. Need length on the wing? He's in. Need someone to space the floor for a few possessions? He'll hit a three, grab a rebound, and get back to the bench. Nothing wild, just checking boxes. That ability to plug in where needed keeps him employed season after season. And while the starters get the headlines, someone like Brian Cardinal was always working in the margins. His whole job was to come in, give energy, maybe take a charge, and keep the tempo up for a few possessions. He wasn't trying to take over, just trying to keep things stable until the real firepower came back in. Their contracts usually reflect that role too. Not huge money, but enough to stay on the roster without messing up the team's salary cap. That makes them valuable beyond the court. When teams look at depth, these are the guys they want. Players who won't complain, won't get injured too often, and won't drag down chemistry. And you know what? They're usually healthy. No long layoffs, no nagging injuries that derail their season. That's another reason they last. They take care of their bodies and stay available, which is more than you can say for a lot of higher-profile players. When younger guys join the roster, these vets are often the first ones to help them adjust. That kind of mentorship doesn't show up in box scores, but it's part of the reason players like Deli stick around. He knew his role, played it hard, and showed the younger guys how to survive in the league without making headlines. They're not winning playoff series, and nobody's expecting them to. But when you look at how many teams have a steady second unit, you'll find players like Tony Snell keeping the wheels from falling off. They don't get the glory, but they get the minutes that keep everything running. You won't find a single defining moment in their careers, but you will find years of showing up, staying ready, and doing the job. That's the life of a bench player. Serviceable, steady, and quietly essential to every team that wants to stay competitive across 82 games. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks, anyways. Level 3 starter Harrison Barnes fits this level perfectly. Dependable, professional, and always ready to contribute, even if he's never blowing up the box score. These players give you 30 or more minutes every night and consistently average somewhere between 12 and 18 points. They're the kind of guys you can plug into the starting lineup and not think twice. Coaches love them. They don't create drama and they rarely mess up. They're just always there. Tobias Harris has carved out a career by being exactly that: solid. Not flashy, not dominant, just reliable. Starters like him can get you 20-plus points once in a while, but it's not expected. When it happens, it's a bonus. These are the players who never get featured on highlight reels, unless someone's scraping together a most underrated montage. They fly under the radar, especially with casual fans, but within the league, everybody knows what they bring. PJ Tucker brings defense, corner threes, and an attitude that doesn't show up on stat sheets. These players usually hang around with the same team for several years, becoming part of the core five without being the face of the franchise. They might not be the first name mentioned in pregame intros, but they're definitely one of the first names in the scouting report. Joe Smith was a classic version of this kind of player. Decent scorer, good rebounder, and always starting, but never starring. These guys rarely make all-star appearances, if ever. They're the players who fans have to argue about just to get them into the conversation. He's been solid. It's probably the highest praise they get on national broadcast, but even so, they're important. They play real playoff minutes and are trusted in crucial stretches. Derek Favors brought consistent inside presence and rebounding. That's another part of what defines this level. These guys do the dirty work, the in-between stuff. They're not making commercials or selling shoes, but they're the reason teams stay competitive. You can build around them, but you probably shouldn't. They're great complementary pieces, reliable, steady, and just productive enough to keep their name in trade discussions. Steven Adams fits right in here. He's tough, strong, and does exactly what you need from a starting center. These players are usually in that mid-tier contract zone. Not max money, but not minimum either. They're paid fairly for what they do, and even though they're not franchise guys, their presence gives a team structure. You don't worry when they're on the court. That peace of mind is worth a lot. Brook Lopez, before his Milwaukee resurgence, was one of those big men who gave you buckets and boards, but didn't tilt the scales. That's the thing about players at this level. They often peak in the middle of their career. They're effective early, reliable in their prime, and then slowly start to fade. Their decline isn't dramatic. It's quiet, just like their rise. Trevor Ariza had the kind of career every team wants from a starter. He defended, hit timely shots, and always seemed to be in the right place. These players win respect from coaches because they follow the plan. They don't freelance. They do what's asked, and they do it well enough to keep starting season after season. They might not fill arenas, but they fill roles, and that matters. Andre Miller ran point with no flash, but full control. That's the vibe from many of these guys. They're not looking to go viral. They're looking to get the job done. Their careers don't scream greatness, but they whisper consistency. If they get traded, it's not because they're underperforming. It's because another team sees their values. They're often included in deals because they balance out the roster. No one builds around them, but everyone can use one. Eric Snow was one of those players who could start on a playoff team and do exactly what was needed. Defend, facilitate, and stay out of the way. That's another strength of this group, knowing their role. They don't try to do too much. They're not stat chasers or highlight hunters. They stick to their lane, and because of that they extend their careers far longer than some players. With more raw talent, these players rarely go out with the bang. There's no massive retirement tour or emotional farewell video. They leave the game the way they played it, quietly, professionally, and without any unnecessary attention. Their careers might not be legendary, but they're respectable. When you look back, you won't see dominance, but you will see a body of work that teams appreciated and coaches trusted. That's the essence of a level 3 starter. Reliable, consistent, solid, not a superstar, not a scrub, just someone who showed up, did the job, and did it well enough to earn minutes, contracts, and the respect of anyone paying close enough attention. But let's move on. Level for star. Jaylen Brown fits this level perfectly. Multiple All-Star appearances, max contract status, and the go-to option on a playoff team. Players like him are the face of the franchise, regularly putting up over 20 points per night, and drawing every bit of the defense's attention. They're the guy on the billboard, in the locker room leading film sessions, and out in the community shaking hands and signing jerseys. Coaches build offensive schemes around them, and opponents build game plans trying to stop them. Darius Garland is another player in this tier. Young, explosive, and already recognized as one of the league's top scoring threats. These players are constantly expected to deliver in the clutch. You don't just want them taking the last shot. You need it. They draw double teams like magnets and still find ways to score or create for others. When the playoffs hit, they carry the team's hopes on their shoulders. If the squad wins, they're praised. If it loses, they're the first name in every debate segment the next morning. Tyrese Maxey represents how fast a player can rise into this level. Stars have dominant stretches and statistically strong prime years that leave an impression. They're not just efficient scorers. They're advanced metrics machines. Look at any lineup combination, and when they're on the floor, everything runs smoother. They're not just producing. They're shifting game. Brandon Ingram has been that first option for years now. Teams know what he brings and still struggle to slow him down. These players live at the top of the scouting report. They demand the ball, and when they don't have it, they're still controlling the flow of the game. Whether it's drawing defenders or collapsing the defense, they tilt the court just by showing up. Zach LaVine brings that highlight-level explosiveness mixed with consistent 20-plus scoring. Stars like him are no longer surprises. They're expected to perform. National games feature them prominently, and the league markets them as part of the next generation of star. Their faces pop up in sneaker ads, commercials, and social campaigns. Their presence on a roster raises the team's ceiling instantly. Chris Middleton is the kind of player who's often overlooked until the playoffs come around. Then suddenly, he's the one hitting the big shots and making huge decisions late in the game. Stars are expected to not only score, but to lead emotionally, vocally, and through effort. They're the players who shift momentum and keep teams alive in tough stretches. Bam adds defense to the star label. These players aren't just scorers. They're two-way threats. They anchor both ends, whether it's protecting the rim or switching onto guards. Their versatility adds value in every possession. When the other team brings the ball up, They're always looking over their shoulder for that matchup. Stars like Bam disrupt the rhythm just by existing. Scotty Barnes is already being treated like the future in a city. That's the mark of a star. Franchise-level trust before age even becomes a factor. Teams hand the reins over and expect results. Whether it's a rebuilding roster or a contender looking for an edge, these players are expected to be the center of everything. When things go right, they're praised like legends. When things go wrong, they take the heat. Tyler Hero brings that flashy shot-making confidence every star-level guard needs. These players have to believe the next shot is going in because the whole team is relying on them to create offense. Their usage rate is sky-high, and they've got to make tough decisions, possession after possession. There's no hiding. The ball always finds them when it matters most. LaMelo Ball adds flair and creativity to this level. Stars have to be entertaining too. It's part of the packet. The league markets them. Fans buy their jerseys, and kids mimic their moves in driveways. But it's not just style, there's substance. Stars don't survive on flash alone. They've got to put up numbers, lead teams, and do it night after night, season after season. Desmond Bane is the kind of player who doesn't look like a star at first glance, but the numbers and impact say otherwise. That's a key part of this level. Respect from peers, coaches, and front offices. These players might not be legends yet, but they're unquestionably elite in the current landscape. They've got top 25 status locked in, and teams know what happens when they are on the schedule. Julius Randle has had dominant regular season runs, and though he's taken criticism, he's firmly in this tier. That's another part of being a star, the scrutiny. When things don't go perfectly, it's their fault. When they drop 30 in a win, it's expected. When they shoot poorly in a loss, it's a headline. They live under that spotlight, and they still produce. Stars leave a legacy with each franchise they touch. Whether they stay for a decade or move after a few years, their presence is felt long after. Stats, game tapes, and playoff memories carry their signature. They're not all-time greats, but they're close enough that every team wants one, and every defense dreads facing one. But now the big dog level 5 superstar Jason Tatum lives in this tier now. Top 10 player in the league. All in the first team regular, and the kind of talent that defines an entire franchise. When he's on the floor, everything changes. Defenses collapse, media coverage spikes, and fans around the world tune in even if they don't support his team. Superstars don't just lead, they control the narrative. If they lose in the playoffs, it's a national discussion. If they win, it's legacy talk. Jalen Brunson has officially broken through to this level. He doesn't just carry his team, he transforms it. These players create new expectations overnight. One moment, the team's trying to make the playoffs. The next, it's contending for a conference title. Superstars shift the balance of power just by existing. They alter the way teams build their rosters. General managers make every decision with them in mind. How to help them, how to keep them, how to maximize their window. Tyrese's Halliburton brings the full packet. Elite efficiency, elite volume, and a game that looks effortless, but is brutally effective. These guys put up 25 and 10 like it's nothing. They're walking double-doubles with the ability to turn those into triple-doubles anytime they feel like it. They don't just get coverage, they dominate. Every game, every move, every quote becomes part of the larger story. Devin Booker owns playoff moments. That's a trademark of this level. Superstars deliver in high-pressure games and make it look routine. They lead deep playoff runs, take over fourth quarters, and force opponents to throw out the scouting report. Defensive schemes get rewritten to deal with them. Traps, doubles, full court pressure. None of it really works. These players always find a way. Donovan Mitchell has that explosive scoring ability that defines the top tier. Superstars don't wait for the game to come to them. They attack it. Whether it's a quick 30-point night or a statement 40-piece, they can erupt whenever it's needed. Every team knows who's getting the ball. Stopping it, different story. These guys pull up from anywhere and finish at the rim like gravity doesn't apply. Kate Cunningham is still young, but the label's already forming. This level demands generational talent, the kind you don't see every year. Teams draft them and immediately adjust their timeline. Suddenly, patience becomes planned. Everything revolves around their development and their ceiling. Once they hit, it's a franchise reset. Superstars are the plan, the system, the culture, all wrapped into one. Wembanyama's already changing the way basketball is played. That's the kind of impact we're talking about. Superstars redefine what's possible. They bring something that forces everyone, fans, coaches, analysts, to reevaluate the expectations. Size, skill, defense, shooting. It doesn't matter what position they play. They transcend it. These players are unicorns with the resumes to prove it. Anthony Edwards brings charisma and chaos. Superstars don't just play, they perform. They entertain. They fill arenas. Their jerseys sell across the globe. They dominate All-Star Weekend because they're built for the spotlight. They're also magnets for criticism. One missed shot, one playoff series loss, and suddenly everyone's asking, is he really that guy? But they take the heat and come back stronger. Kyrie's game is a masterpiece. Impossible to replicate and impossible to ignore. These guys make the league more interesting just by being in it. Their style becomes part of basketball culture. Kids copy their move. Other players mold their game around them. When they hit free agency, it's not just a signing. It's a shift in the league's power structure. Teams get gutted. Rosters flip just to make room. Anthony Davis dominates both ends of the court. That's another defining trait. Superstars don't take plays off. They're expected to defend the paint, run the offense, hit big shots, and do it all without blinking. They show up in every advanced metric, lead in efficiency, and make everyone around them better. The team's identity becomes a reflection of who they are. These players live under the microscope. Every game, every possession, every comment is analyzed. They're compared constantly. Who's better? Who's next? Who's fading? The weight they carry is heavier than stats can measure. And yet, they produce consistently. They set records, sign global endorsements, and stay at the center of the conversation. Their presence defines an era. You don't just remember the teams. They become known by the superstar that led them. These players don't need introductions and they don't need hype. They bring both. Whether it's opening night or Game 7, everyone's watching. They don't just play basketball. They change it. But let's get historic. Level 6, Legend. Bill Russell didn't just win. He defined what winning looked like. Legends aren't just remembered, they're studied. Their names aren't part of the conversation. They are the conversation. These players get inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, have their numbers retired, and become symbols of entire eras. Their careers are the foundation of the league's history, and their dominance stretches from the first minute they played to the last time they laced up. Cream finished with career stats that still sit at the top of the record books. Legends don't just have a good run, they leave behind decades worth of numbers, trophies, and memories. They win multiple championships, collect MVPs, finals MVPs, and shape the identity of the franchise itself. When fans think of those teams, they think of that player first. That's legacy. Magic Johnson had the game, the showmanship, and the impact. Legends changed how the game was played. They introduced new styles, new mindsets, and forced the league to evolve around them. Whether it was passing, scoring, defending, or leading, they made the extraordinary field ordinary. These players set the standard and then raised it every year. Larry Bird wasn't just great, he was unforgettable. Legends have rivalries that become folklore. Every matchup is part of basketball history. These battles were more than just wins and losses. They were chapters in a larger story that shaped the league for generations. Legends made every game feel like an event, every possession like a moment you had to see live. Wilt Chamberlain broke the game with stats that look made up. That's another piece of this level. They weren't just good for their time. They were unbelievable for all time. You hear the numbers, you see the records, and you wonder how it was even possible. And yet, they did it over and over with consistency that looks superhuman in hindsight. Hickey brought footwork and finesse that's still taught today. Legends inspire generations. Young players study them, copy their moves, and model their approach. They watch the clips, read the books, and try to measure up to careers that feel unreachable. These players didn't just win. They created the blueprint for what greatness looks like. Steph Curry shifted the entire league by changing how basketball is played. Legends have that kind of influence. One player, one skill set, completely rewriting the strategy of every team. That's not hype. That's reality. The league looks different because they existed. And even after they're gone, their impact doesn't fade. It grows. Oscar Robertson was the original stat sheet stuffer. Legends often lead in areas no one was tracking seriously until they came along. Once they start doing it, suddenly it becomes a standard. They redefine what's expected. Triple-doubles used to be rare, then he made them routine. That's the power of a legend. They expand the game. Kobe Bryant created iconic moments that'll be replayed forever. That's another part of this level. These players have signature moments burned into the memory of the sport. Game winners, playoff explosions, all-time performances that don't just live on highlight reels. They live in basketball culture. You remember where you were when it happened. Shaq dominated physically like few ever could. Legends are remembered not just for what they did, but how they did it. There's no one quite like them, and there never will be. They're the kind of players who make fans, teammates, and opponents all shake their heads because it didn't seem fair. Their style becomes part of league history. Nikola Jokic already has a place in this group. His vision, passing, and scoring from the center position changed what's possible at his size. Legends are players you can't compare directly to anyone else. They become their own category. When you talk about others, you compare them to the legend, not the other way around. Kevin Durant created one of the most feared scoring arsenals ever. Legends score, but they also haunt. Defenders know what's coming and still can't stop it. These players command respect from everyone. Fans, peers, analysts, even critics. Their name carries weight in every conversation, every comparison, every list. Giannis is still adding to his resume, but he's already solidified his place here. Multiple MVPs, a championship, global appeal. He checks every box. Legends extend beyond the court. They become cultural icons, brand ambassadors, role models, and storytellers. They're featured in documentaries, biographies, and league anniversaries. They stay relevant long after the last game. That's what level 6 is. It's not just about how great they were. It's about how deeply they changed the game, how widely they're remembered, how permanently they've shaped the league. Legends don't fade, they echo. But you know what's last. Level 7, GOAT. Michael Jordan isn't just in the conversation. He is the conversation. He set a bar that doesn't even seem reachable. From a perfect 6 for 6 in the finals to 10 scoring titles and 5 league MVPs, his career was the definition of dominance. He didn't just win. He redefined what greatness meant in sports. His impact went beyond the hardwood into sneakers, culture, marketing, and global awareness. You don't say basketball legend without thinking of him first. LeBron James, on the other hand, has built a career so long, so productive, and so consistent. It looks like a cheat code. 21 All-NBA selections, over 40,000 points, and still going. He's led the league in scoring, assists, playoff wins, you name it. Unlike Jordan's intense perfection, LeBron's case is built on complete versatility and longevity. He's a walking triple-double threat and ranks top 100 in every meaningful category across the board. These two didn't just dominate their eras. They defined them. They were the faces of the NBA and became household names in places that didn't even have basketball courts. GOATs don't just appear on TV. They show up in textbooks, documentaries, and museum exhibits. When Jordan took flight, or when LeBron chased down a block, it didn't feel like a play. It felt like a moment history would remember. Jordan's influence was immediate and lasting. He brought global attention to the league during a time when it was still trying to find its footing internationally. Every player that came after him measured themselves against him. His career wasn't just successful, it was mythical. The Last Dance, the Dream Team, the Flu Game. It's all part of a larger story that makes him feel like a sports diet. LeBron took that mythology and added 20-plus years of real-time dominance. He didn't just match expectations, he created new ones. High school phenom, chosen one, and somehow he exceeded all of it. He's played in 10 finals, won 4. Been the centerpiece of every team he's been on and reinvented himself with each era. His resume reads like a video game character with every skill maxed out. GOAT-level players do more than win. They elevate the game. They turn teammates into champions, franchises into dynasties, and moments into legacies. Jordan made players want to be killers. LeBron made players want to be complete. One was about ruthlessness and instinct. The other precision and control. They're two sides of the same unreachable coin. They also carry the weight of every comparison. When a new star emerges, the question is always the same. Is he the next Jordan, or can he catch LeBron? That's what being a GOAT means. You're the final answer. When barbershops argue, when analysts debate, when documentaries air, it always circles back to them. Jordan's clutch moments are burned into memory. The shot over Elo, the shrug, the double nickel at the Garden. They've been replayed so often, you don't even need commentary. LeBron's chase down block in the finals already an immortal play. His game winners, his finals performances, his ability to make the right play every single time. It's a masterclass in basketball IQ. Jordan made the NBA cool. LeBron made it universal. One wore gold chains and black and red kicks. The other made school programs, invested in media, and still gave you 30, 10, and 9 on a Tuesday night. Their off-court impact is as large as their on-court success. From endorsements to philanthropy, they've used their platforms to change lives. Being a GOAT also means being part of every conversation, even outside sports. People compare Jordan to Ali, to Tiger Woods, to Serena Williams. LeBron's name is right there, too. Not just for what they've done, but for what they represent. Excellence, durability, and complete domination. Their jerseys hang in arenas and sell out across the world. Their shoes are worn by kids who never saw them play live. Their names get referenced in music, politics, and entertainment. They're not just athletes, they're global landmarks. What makes them different from other legends is simple: the gap. There are stars, there are icons, and then there's them. Their achievements are so massive, so comprehensive that even trying to replicate them feels like chasing a shadow. Michael Jordan is the symbol of perfection. LeBron James is the model of evolution. Together, they don't just define basketball greatness, they define greatness. Period. Every future player will be judged against them. And that's not pressure. It's proof. That's what makes them level 7. That's what makes them GOATs. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.